The Activision Blizzard Acquisition is about to enter Phase 2, a deeper detailed dive into regulatory investigation for the UK committee as other entities in Europe and peer tech groups approve and support the merger into Microsoft and Xbox. One company is fighting harder than any to keep this deal from happening, and it's the market leader, Sony's PlayStation. And you won't believe the baseless claims this selfish and arrogant console platform is making. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. PlayStation spoke up again about the Activision Blizzard deal with Xbox and Microsoft, and they sound more afraid and more weak than ever. If you end up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content, and let's look at why PlayStation would die without the Xbox. At the start of 2022, Microsoft announced intent to purchase Activision Blizzard and King, the company behind Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Candy Crush. And the first response was to offer PlayStation continued support with their biggest game on the PS4 and PS5. Xbox revealed that it had provided a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with feature and content parity for at least several more years. Beyond Sony's existing contract with Activision, Xbox said this offer goes well beyond typical gaming industry agreements. The current deal between Sony and Activision Blizzard around Call of Duty is believed to cover the next 3 releases, including this year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. This means that if Call of Duty ever left the PlayStation, it would be in 2027, which is probably near the end of this console generation. However, Sony says that the offer fails to consider the impact on PlayStation gamers. Last week, Jim Ryan said, quote, "I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business discussion, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum. Microsoft is only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation and Xbox, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account the impact on our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines this principle." Close quote. In order to properly understand the financial impact of Call of Duty leaving PlayStation consoles, you have to look at the metrics not openly shared by Sony or Activision. Right now, Call of Duty is one of PlayStation's most prominent annual revenue streams from Call of Duty sales, expansions, and microtransactions. In 2021, just Call of Duty hit number 1 and number 3 most sold game on PlayStation, next to number 2's Madden. Minecraft is the number 1 best-selling all-time game on PlayStation consoles, next to GTA 5. The number 6 most sold PlayStation game of all time is Call of Duty Black Ops 3, being beat by Rockstar's games Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption 2. PlayStation's Jim Ryan is worried about this, and it shows as they grab exclusivity rights for Call of Duty on PlayStation, even early access exclusivity with Modern Warfare 2, with exclusive maps and early access to show their majority fans that Call of Duty, a game that sells above all others, is the place to play on a PS5. Microsoft could lose out on over $1 billion in sales revenue each year if it keeps Call of Duty off of the PlayStation. But Sony could lose $500 million or $500 million. That's not a whole lot of loss for Sony, who has made $10 billion in 2021 alone. This is why they're so worried. But if Xbox can pull in $3 billion in Game Pass subscription revenue residually each year, losing $1 billion from PlayStation Call of Duty sales weighs in favor of drawing millions of people to Game Pass and into the Xbox ecosystem. Now, $3 billion assumes that at this point, they have 30 million subscribers, and most people in that service are paying on average about $10 a month, and outside of the $1 trial. Game Pass subscription numbers could be well over 30 million, knowing that Call of Duty is only available on the Xbox ecosystem. Yes, they can continue to sell Call of Duty on PlayStation to make extra on the side, but with all of Xbox Studios' offerings in the service as well as Activision and Blizzard's games, PlayStation has much to be worried about, with a majority of their yearly revenue being challenged or even outright removed. Europe and the UK will scrutinize Microsoft's acquisition. Sony and PlayStation recently accused Microsoft of misleading the games industry representatives and regulators about its plans to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Microsoft's competitors, or just PlayStation in this case, fear that the company will formulate its commitments in such a way that it can later close access to large projects for other market participants. Sony and others need guarantees that all games will remain on competing platforms. We'll stop here because Sony says themselves and other competitors, but really they just mean the PlayStation. Because Nintendo right now is not concerned with getting Call of Duty on the platform. They have not asked Activision to create ports like they did on the Nintendo Wii. So the only remaining platform that could not have Call of Duty would be PlayStation. They continue to say they need guarantees that all games will remain on competing platforms on equal terms and forever. Close quote. Microsoft will be able to assume such commitments only in the second phase of the transaction review, when an independent commission will subject them to a detailed analysis and be ready to discuss possible solutions to potential problems in the context of antitrust practice. They say, quote, by giving Microsoft control of Activision games like Call of Duty, this deal would have major negative implications for gamers and the future of the gaming industry. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting gamers, close quote. Or protecting PlayStation console owners. Or PlayStation console owners who only play on a PlayStation, because Call of Duty already supports full crossplay with all of your friends across any device on Xbox, PC, or PlayStation. Microsoft's response to this is a statement saying it makes zero business sense for Microsoft to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation given its market-leading console position, close quote. And there is where you see that $1 billion in lost revenue if Xbox pulls Call of Duty from the PlayStation. If Xbox decides to weigh in on the side of Game Pass, with about 30 million subscribers at around $100 per year on average, the Game Pass platform on its own generates roughly $3 billion outside of investments to add content to the service. So if Xbox stands to lose $1 billion by not selling Call of Duty on PlayStation, they can make it up by growing Game Pass subscribers in a $3 billion a year residual revenue stream, while also selling the game outright each year on Xbox consoles and PC. This is a testing period for Xbox with Call of Duty as a multiplat. If they can grow Game Pass faster and make more money without PlayStation, then they'll leave them behind. And this is why PlayStation's Jim Ryan and leadership have spoken up to regulators, even at the cost of looking weak. Call of Duty on Xbox and bringing Activision to Game Pass is not about concern over competition in the marketplace. Right now, one of the highest sold and most popular gaming platforms is the Nintendo Switch. And for over 5 years, the Nintendo platform has not had Call of Duty on their console. When Sony says that it's unfair in the competitive market, they're only talking about themselves. Because Call of Duty, even if it was exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, it will be available on nearly any screen on any device on PC and on all Xbox consoles, either natively or via the cloud, and on any screen that supports xCloud and Game Pass. Game Pass has been a very disruptive industry-changing offering for gamers and has been hailed and praised for its impressive offering of games and flexibility to millions around the world. The Activision and Blizzard merger is really less about Xbox Game Pass and more about giving Xbox leverage in the PC and mobile space. This isn't an isolated incident, as we are seeing PlayStation and Nintendo expand into PC and mobile with their in-house franchises. Sony should be very worried, as a major part of their yearly revenue stream could either be hindered or completely eliminated. If you're watching the business closely, you'll understand that Xbox will probably keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for the remainder of the franchise's lifespan. The mere prospect of losing console sales, digital purchases of Call of Duty franchise on a PlayStation console is very disruptive for Sony's closed business, where they're pushing third-party exclusivity, time deals, and piecemealing games away from the competition. It really boils down to the fact that Microsoft has finally decided to invest in the Xbox ecosystem after spending nearly a decade of letting it flounder with little first-party support and only 4 major studios. Now that Xbox and Microsoft are all in gaming and making major contributions and investments into first-party deals, bringing huge studios on to create Xbox Game Pass games as one of gaming's biggest platforms, it stands that all gamers have a lot to be excited about. And anyone who will only play on a PlayStation console has a lot to be worried about. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I've covered this Activision Blizzard deal quite a bit, and looking at all of the times that PlayStation has spoken up and shown weakness and showed their concern, they have every right to be concerned. $500 million lost every year is a big chunk of guaranteed change that comes in because of Call of Duty. And looking back at those metrics, how Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, and Minecraft are the top selling games on the PlayStation, it really kind of hampers down that whole narrative about big AAA cinematic exclusives, which are so important to the industry. And I'm so glad that both are still leading in those games with big titles that we can play every year. But when you look at the metrics, they're selling some 10 to 20% to their install base. The major money comes from Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, Call of Duty, FIFA, and it goes on and on. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new weekly content. And if you want to further support the channel, you can do that by joining the channel membership button below, or you can join the Patreon. Either of those will get you entered into early access videos and get you into monthly merch drawings for XNC and Colteastwood and other gaming related merch that I've designed on t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, travel mugs, and the occasional pair of socks. But if you also want to hear more about discussion with experts and other people in the industry, you can check out the XNC podcast, which runs Monday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time with my co-host Gaz. But I want to know what you think about PlayStation and Sony's comments here. Them saying that it is hampering all competition when I think they're only talking about themselves. I was kind of feisty in this video, so I expect people to be a little bit feisty as well, and there will be some fighting in the comment section. But while you're there, remember, as always, please be nice.